My name's Arthur Kay. I'm the Chief Executive of Skyroom. Skyroom works with major landowners to identify opportunities to build new homes in the airspace above existing buildings. We then build those homes off-site in factories before craning them into position on-site. Our mission is around how we can reduce the CO2 emissions within cities, and specifically do so by increasing the density of cities. I trained as an architect and have always been really interested in how you can make the most of wasted or underutilised space. And what Skyroom is really about is how you can take the wasted space above buildings and make the most of it. Typically when you have a building, you either knock it down and build a bigger one, or you have to move everyone out when you want to try and add new floors to it or new space around it. What we're really focused on at Skyroom is the innovation around how you can keep residents and operations going underneath, and building a podium system around that, and then building modular housing above that. And what that means in practice is that instead of having a very expensive and disruptive process, you can do it with much less cost and much more rapidly with much less disruption on site. So we think of it as a building above a building. So instead of it being a rooftop extension or a roof extension, which might be adding half a story or 1.5 stories, we're really saying this is an entirely new typology. You're building a new building above it. So at Skyroom, we're interested in how you can use new housing and density to help tackle the climate emergency. We all know that at the moment over 50% of humanity lives in cities, and that's expected to reach 70% by the year 2050. Over that period of time, we have a huge amount of buildings that need to be retrofitted. The question is, how do you pay for that retrofit cost, and how do you increase the density of cities? Because counterintuitively, cities are an incredibly sustainable place to live. So for example, in London, you have roughly a third of your CO2 emissions of your rural counterpart. And therefore, if we can find a way to make density livable, then you can make cities more sustainable. So we look at impact from both an environmental perspective and from a social perspective. And so the key point is around retaining what's there already. And so you can retain both what's there in terms of its environmental and embodied carbon impact, and then retaining what's there in terms of use class. So instead of having to move residents out, as often happens in regeneration, or to not keep operations going, you're able to keep that use class there. And then the third piece is retention in terms of an existing building. So keeping some of the existing townscape and heritage, rather than typically what happens, which is knocking down those buildings. So that retention of the social fabric, the urban fabric, and then the environmental embodied carbon is the starting point for it. For Skyroom, the Imperial Climate Accelerator was fantastic. Firstly, it gave us some money and support at a really crucial, sensitive stage of the business growth. And then, as importantly, introduced us to a network of other founders at different stages. And those people are often developing completely different businesses, but being able to have that network of like-minded founders, and also people who are, maybe struggling with similar things, and be able to kind of compare and get some support through that has been really valuable as well. So today, Skyroom, we're proud to call some of our partners some of the largest landowners in the UK, including NHS trusts, FTSE 100 companies, and some of the UK's biggest housing associations. However, going from quite an unusual idea, building new homes above buildings, to there takes a lot of trust building with those people. And actually getting the support from the Imperial Climate Accelerator was massive to that. Our biggest challenge at Skyroom has been how long the development process works. So our big learning and pivot has been trying to work out how we can make money whilst waiting for some of these bigger developments to happen. And so what we've developed in response to that has been actually one of the ideas that we came up with during the Imperial Climate Accelerator, which is around how we can provide different feasibility studies at the very, very early stage and develop what we call a geospatial mapping technology, a piece of software that helps us find some of these airspace development opportunities. So what that looks like practically is when you have a partner who might own 100,000 different properties across the UK, we work with them to identify the opportunities that sit within their portfolio, and then do early stage feasibility studies, which are paid pieces of work to then say, if we were to work together, this is the kind of thing that we can do for you to bring forward these projects. My top tips for people in the climate innovation space is probably sound a bit cynical, but it's to try and really focus on what is a solution that can get to market, because a lot of people spend a huge amount of time and emotion and money working through what they think other people should want rather than what people do want, and trying to work out really early on and very specifically who your customer is. Today, Skyrim is a profitable business. We have not had to raise any money, so we've been profitable from day one. In addition to that, we've raised a £100 million Key Worker Homes Fund, which allows us to co-invest alongside some of our partners in these projects, and an amazing board of commissioners who sit alongside that. We've got a pipeline of over 1,000 new affordable homes for key workers that are being delivered across the capital, and we're beginning to expand to several other countries around Europe. And then in addition to that, we've got an amazing team ranging from engineers, scientists, architects, community engagement specialists, all of whom are working together to try and deliver this vision.